Hello. Thank you for participating in the Fiscal Year 2021 Department of Education's Fulbright-Hays Group Projects Abroad Long-Term Technical Assistance webinar. My name is Cory Neal, and I am the GPA Program Manager. Please note that we will be conducting two separate workshops this year for GPA short-term projects and GPA long-term projects. This technical assistance workshop will focus on the long-term projects. Both webinars have been pre-recorded and can be accessed either through the Department of Education's GPA website or through IFLE's YouTube channel. The agenda for today's assistance workshop is as follows. We will review the purpose of the GPA long-term program. We'll discuss the competition highlights as referenced in the notice inviting applicants. We'll discuss the eligibility requirements for both applicants and participants. We'll review each of the long-term, we'll review the long-term project type. We'll discuss each of the project phases for long-term projects. We'll go over the allowable cost under the GPA long-term program. We'll review selection criteria and the process for selecting awardees. And lastly, we'll provide some helpful tips for developing a competitive application. The Fulbright-Hays GPA program is designed to contribute to the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign languages and area studies in the United States by providing training opportunities for faculty, teachers, and upperclassmen and/or graduate students in foreign language countries where the U.S. has diplomatic representation. Long-term advanced overseas intensive language training projects are designed to take advantage of the opportunities present in the foreign country that are not present in the United States when providing intensive advanced foreign language training. Okay, you heard me say area studies, and we define area studies as the study of the aspects of a society or societies, including the study of their geography, history, culture, economy, politics, international relations, or languages. For FY 2021, the estimated range of awards is between 50,000 and 250,000, with an average size of an award being approximately 185,000. We are estimating approximately 25 awards this year. 15 of those are allotted for long-term projects. But please note that the department is not bound by any estimates on this slide or in the NIA. For FY 2021, the absolute priority for our competition is that a group project focuses on one or more of the following geographic regions of the world: Africa, East Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia and the Pacific, the Western Hemisphere, including Central and South America, Mexico and the Caribbean, Eastern and Central Europe, and Eurasia, and the Near East. Please note that GPA long-term projects that focus on Western Europe will not be reviewed. The countries that will not be reviewed include Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. GPA long-term applicants can earn additional points if they address the following competitive preference priorities. First, GPA long-term applicants can earn 2 additional points if they are from a minority-serving institution. And secondly, GPA long-term projects can earn 4 additional points if they propose projects that provide substantive training and thematic focus on any foreign modern language, with the exception of French, German, and Spanish. And please note that for the competitive preference priority focusing on language training and thematic focus on priority languages, that the point amount this year has increased to 4 points, meaning that the total amount of competitive preference priorities has increased as well to 6 total points. That's new for FY 2021. Next, I will cover applicant and participant eligibility requirements. Eligible applicants for the 2021 cycle are institutions of higher education, state departments of education, private nonprofit educational organizations, and consortia of institutions, departments, and organizations. An individual is eligible to participate in a GPA long-term project if he or she is a citizen, national, or permanent resident of the U.S., meaning they have a U.S. green card, and they have successfully completed at least 2 years of academic training in the language to be studied. If a participant is a native speaker of the language your project intends to study, the participant must still have the 2 years of academic training in this language. Native speakers are not excluded from this requirement. Participants should be studying in the fields of humanities, social sciences, foreign languages, and/or area studies. Generally, this group includes graduate students or juniors or seniors in higher education institutions who are prospective teachers in the areas previously mentioned, or graduate students or juniors or seniors in higher education institutions who plan to apply their language skills and knowledge of countries vital to the United States national security in fields outside teaching, including government, the professions, or international development. Let's take a look at the features of a GPA long-term project. Okay, your GPA long-term project must study a language indigenous to the country you plan to study in and be designed for maximum use of local institutions and personnel. Language training must be given at the advanced level, that is equivalent to that provided to students who have successfully completed at least 2 academic years of language training. GPA long-term grantees must have the appropriate language instructor administer pre- and post-test language evaluations to all participants. All right, let's look at the numbers here. For long-term advanced intensive language projects, the minimum time spent in the host country is 8 weeks. This does not include the pre-departure orientation in the United States. The grant performance period is 24 months. The minimum amount of participants is typically 12 and 1 project director for a total of 13 individuals. The maximum grant award is $250,000, and this information on this slide can be found on page 18 of the GPA application handbook. We highly encourage each applicant to check the State Department's websites for alerts and warnings, as GPA applicants proposing to travel to a country that is closed to Fulbrighters will be disqualified. The countries on this slide are currently closed to Fulbrighters. If you're unsure about a specific country, especially with the state of travel in 2021 due to the COVID-19 virus, things change. So please feel free to email me at gpa@ed.gov. And as a reminder, we receive several inquiries about Cuba and Egypt as possible destinations for GPA programs, and these countries are currently closed to Fulbrighters. Again, grantees have 24 months to carry out their project activities. For FY 2021, the proposed start and end dates are June 15th, 2021 to June 15th, 2023. Okay, let's discuss the GPA project phases. The first phase is the pre-departure phase. Grantees should allot at a minimum 16 hours for their pre-departure orientations. Pre-departure orientations should consist of conducting a series of lectures in the country of study. Advanced reading materials should also be sent to the participants several weeks prior to the pre-departure orientation. At the orientation, we suggest that the applicants are given guidelines on conduct. We also suggest that you hold discussions on daily living and traveling in the host country, team building exercises, team assignments, if applicable, and individual proposed projects, cross-cultural training, and possible language assessments. This slide is an example of a pre-departure orientation schedule from a past program. Please make sure your pre-departure orientation is detailed as demonstrated by the slide. You may include, and you should include, a copy of your pre-departure orientation in the appendices portion of your application package. Please note this is only a sample. Your pre-departure orientation schedule will depend on the intensity of your language programs, any partners you may include, etc., etc. The next phase is the overseas phase. This is where you should provide detailed information on your in-country itinerary. These details could include your daily language class itinerary with detailed contact hours. And for the long-term programs, this is at least 120 hours in-country contact hours per student. Details about your academic lectures can be included here: field trips, cultural activities, debriefings and evaluations, and travel arrangements and accommodations. When it comes to the debriefings and evaluations, it's good to keep in mind daily, I would call it daily decompression time for your participants to have some self-reflection or group reflection on that day's activities or courses. Remember, the more information you provide in this narrative, the more likely you are to receive a respectable score. The last phase is the follow-up phase. Applicants should include in this follow-up phase an end-of-project evaluation to be completed by each participant to assess the quality of the overseas project. The Department of Education reviews these applications submitted by the participants to ascertain the success of the project and to provide suggestions for improvements should the grantee submit a subsequent application for funding. The follow-up phase should also include language proficiency post-test results, as well as all other required reports that we will touch on a little later in the webinar. The follow-up phase can include information on staff development, for example, workshops or conferences. It can include dissemination and outreach plans, any publicizing or recruiting future participants, and any future outreach activities. Okay, we're going to talk about the selection criteria. This is what will be used to score your application. All right, these are your 8 criteria that you will address in your project narrative. You can receive a total of 100 points for addressing all of the selection criteria. In addition, again, you can receive up to 6 points for addressing the competitive preference priorities specific to the long-term projects. Let's break this down. Okay, so under plan of operation, this is worth up to 20 points. Applicants here should introduce the reader to their institution or organization by providing statistics and other demographic information relevant to the project. The need for the project, the selection of the country of study, and the objectives of the project should also be discussed. The project design should be addressed. This generally includes the 3 project phases that we just touched on, and applicants should note how each phase of the project is to be carried out and supported under the plan of operation criteria. Continuing on with the plan of operation, applicants should also address how the management plan will link all of the project phases and how it will efficiently operate under all of the project parties. Applicants should describe in which ways resources and personnel will be used in achieving the objectives of the project and include details of which key personnel will be responsible for vital project components and activities, and describe the how, why, when, and where project activities will take place. Please include a clear description of how projects will provide equal access and equipment for project participants regardless of race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. Many applicants neglect to include this description, which does result in a point deduction. So keep that in mind as you are putting together your plan of operation. Okay, quality of key personnel. This is worth up to 10 points. Applicants should address the qualifications of the U.S. project director, which includes their academic training, their field of expertise in the host country, the administrative experience that they may have, their language experience, and any other related qualification. It's also very important here to note the project director's time commitment to the project. Here you also you should provide expertise of any of the other support staff. And if you do have that other support staff, make sure that you include their time commitment to the project as well. And you should also provide host country key personnel qualifications. And host country personnel can include administrative staff, language teachers, assessors, or evaluators. Please be sure to include their titles, their responsibilities, and also their time commitments to the project. Applicants should also show as part of the institution's non-discriminatory employment practices how employment from underrepresented groups will be without regard to race, color, national origin, gender, age, or disability. You can upload any abbreviated CVs in the appendices section, and any CV that you upload should be no more than 3 pages for your key personnel. Okay. The budget and cost effectiveness is worth up to 10 points. Here, applicants should demonstrate and justify that all allowable expenses presented are adequate and reasonable in today's market and necessary to accomplish your project's goals. You should discuss the project's cost effectiveness and show the relationship between the project's costs and the project's objectives. GPA programs do not require matching funds, but we do highly recommend using matching funds. In the budget narrative attachment, applicants should upload a detailed, itemized line budget and accompanying budget narrative that clearly outlines how the costs have been calculated and are necessary to the project's objectives. And remember, long-term projects have a 24-month project period, so your budget should reflect those 24 months. When developing your budget, keep in mind that funding can be used for the items on this slide. That includes lodging and meals, round-trip international travel, and just keep in the back of your mind that all flights to and from the U.S. must be Fly America Act compliant. Funding can also be used for travel within the host country, educational materials purchased in the host country, meeting spaces within the host country, local administrative fees and services, and host country evaluators. And you hear the theme there: host country, host country, host country. It is because the grant does not provide funds for project-related expenses within the United States. All funding must be spent while overseas. So we don't cover things such as U.S.-based salaries. We don't cover the pre-departure orientation cost if that orientation is held within the United States, and any follow-up activities that occur in the United States. These items could be covered, with matching contributions, applicant matching contributions. I would also like to note that the GPA program may pay for costs associated with pre and post foreign language assessments, which are required for the long-term projects, if those assessments are conducted in the host country. Okay, I like this slide, which is an example of a budget sheet, because this sample it demonstrates the 3 columns that should be used. They're not necessary, but they do make it easier for the readers as they're scoring your projects. It has the 3 columns on the right. You see what funds will be used by the GPA program, what funds will be used from the university or college or institution, and then what funds will be from the participant cost share. And it makes everything nice and crisp and organized. We highly recommend, again, that you organize your budgets into those 3 categories when you're putting together your budget sheets. Here's page 2 of the budget example. And moving on to evaluation plan. This is worth up to 20 points. A well-designed evaluation plan includes clearly articulated goals, measurable objectives, both quantitative and qualitative, a way to collect data to show progress, formal evaluations at each phase of the project, and informal evaluations. Those can take the form of debriefings or daily journals. To add credibility to the evaluation plan, we highly encourage using an external evaluator that is independent of the project, so someone who is outside of your academic department or even external to your institution. You should also include evaluation instruments that will be used to collect data during all project phases. And you should also include a timetable that highlights when key components of the evaluation plan will occur. Okay, this slide gives you an example of a performance measure form, or PMF, which is included in your application. Applicants will be required to develop the proposed goals and the project-specific performance measures and activities on this performance measure form. And if you look at this example, the project's goal is to improve foreign language proficiency of U.S. educators. You should clearly demonstrate achievement of this goal through activities, data indicators, frequency, and data sources. GPA performance measures should be linked to the overall performance measure of the program, which include GEPRA Measure 1, which is the percentage of GPA participants in the advanced language program who increase their reading, writing, and or listening, speaking foreign language scores by 1 proficiency level. The efficiency of the GPA long-term program will be measured by considering the cost per GPA participant who increased his or her foreign language score in reading, writing, and or listening, speaking by at least 1 proficiency level. Okay, our next criteria is the adequacy of resources, and this is worth up to 5 points. Here you want to ask yourself, what resources will I use to accomplish the project goals I have outlined in my project, both in the United States and abroad? You should indicate specifics regarding the use of facilities, supplies, and other resources to show that they are adequate to carry out the activities in all phases of the project. You can upload letters of support from both the U.S. and support country institutions and individuals in the appendices section of the application. The potential impact criteria is worth up to 15 points. Here you want to answer what the potential impact of your project on the development and improvement of the study of modern foreign language and area studies in the U.S. What's the impact? You also want to describe possible long-term benefits to project participants, their students, if relevant, their colleagues, and communities resulting from successful completion of the grant. What specific multiplier effects will the project have? And you also want to indicate the process by which resulting curricula, projects, research, et cetera, will be evaluated for accuracy and effectiveness. The relevance to institutional development criteria is worth up to 10 points. Applicants should discuss the missions, goals, and objectives of the applicant institution, as well as what it would mean to have a GPA grant. Here you want to describe the relationship between the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign languages and area studies. And you want to outline what changes will take place due to having a GPA project. Okay, and our last criteria is the need for overseas experience, and this is worth up to 10 points. Here you should discuss how the project will bring about a better understanding of the host country. You want to address the question, why this particular group to this particular place? And lastly, you want to describe the relationship to the project and the institution's program development in modern foreign languages and area studies. Okay, the grants.gov appendices section, this provides applicants with an other attachments section, and that other attachments section can include the items on the screen. So your preliminary pre-departure orientation agenda, your overseas project itinerary, and your follow-up activities. Here's where you want to upload your key personnel CVs, and remember those are 3 pages maximum for each key personnel. Your letters of support, and your examples of evaluation materials, project timeline chart, project-specific PMF forms with the proposed measures and activities. All right, at this time, I'd like to provide you with some tips on putting together a successful application package. Okay, Getting organized. As you're getting organized, we encourage applicants to review abstracts of funded grantees and past successful proposals located on our GPA website. We encourage applicants to develop internal and external linkages that will assist you in putting together a solid application. For example, you may wish to meet with relevant staff from the Grants and Contracts Office or coordinate with your colleagues on campus that have international education or grants experience to develop a robust plan of operation and management plan. In addition, applicants that have secured an external evaluator will send a strong signal to peer reviewers that you're serious about your evaluation of your program. We strongly encourage applicants to review the FAQs on our website, which have been recently updated, and we advise you to designate a management team with international and grants experience. Also, identify your institution or department's needs and wants, and go ahead and start requesting letters of support, both from the U.S. and abroad. We also highly recommend that you review the Federal Register notice and the GPA program websites for updated information. And lastly, please feel free to contact me at gpa@ed.gov, and I'd be more than happy to assist you with any questions you may have along the way. When writing your proposal, make sure you address all selection criteria in the order listed in the application package. Applicants should not make peer reviewers search for any information. So generating a table of contents could be helpful in developing a highly organized application. You should also provide a detailed plan of operation and evaluation and include sufficient details so that someone unfamiliar with your project could conduct it. Write clear, measurable goals, objectives, and outcomes. Provide a specific and detailed budget. Avoid grammatical errors and specific professional jargon and acronyms, and use persuasive descriptions of how your project operates. I can't stress enough to you how important it is to be clear, concise, and detailed. When submitting your application, make sure you register early on grants.gov to avoid any system issues. Save your written proposal to avoid any computer issues. And if your institution is not funded, consult the reviewer comments and reapply. And please, please, please do not wait until the last minute to submit your application. The deadline for submitting your application is March 15th, 2021. All applicants will be notified of the results via email no later than September 30th, 2021. You will be notified whether your application was successful or not. Scores and comments will be sent to all applications via email, and for successful grantees, be prepared to hit the ground running. Here are a few websites that could be helpful to you as you work on your applications. You can find sample abstracts from past successful projects, sample narratives, submission instructions, and a link to subscribe to our quarterly newsletter. This slide contains a link to the GPA website, as well as my contact information. Please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any question, no matter how big or small. One last note, institutions are able to apply for more than one GPA grant. You can submit for multiple short-term projects, multiple long-term projects, or a combination of both. If you choose to submit a short-term application, please be sure to watch the short-term technical assistance webinar, as short-term applications have different requirements than long-term applications. You can find the short-term webinar at the International Foreign Language Education Office's YouTube channel or the GPA website. Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to our GPA long-term technical assistance webinar. I hope it will help you in putting together a competitive application. We wish you the best of luck and look forward to your application.